Okay, well, moving on. Now pocket nines. Let's see what you do. We got a bet to 120. You know, that's a sizable bet, 4 times blind. Again, I would shove here. Like I said, I don't like the call again because you're giving the big blind odds in the hand. With pocket nines, you would much rather play it against one player than two. And in a rebuy tournament, honestly, there you should shove. I don't like just re-raising in this spot because you'd be out of position if you raised it to 500 or 400 or something, and then the guy called. You're going to be in a tougher spot on the flop if, say, one overcard hits because you got to check to him and you don't gain that much information. So I don't like a re-raise there. I also don't like a call. I like a shove. There, you're going to want to shove, and, you know, there's so many hands he can call you with that you're ahead. He can call you with eights and down and pairs. He can call you with, you know, obviously 2 overcards that you're going to be racing against. And you shouldn't be scared of a race in the first hour of a rebuy tournament. So I think you should shove there. By the call you made, you're giving the big blind odds to come in the hand. However, with that being said, if this was a freeze-out tournament, I would smooth call there just as you did every time. The rebuy structure of the tournament does change my strategy drastically. So, yeah, if this was a freeze-out with a hand like nines, I wouldn't want to be repopping somebody who raised from under the gun, that's for sure. But in a $10 rebuy tournament, with the level of players in this thing, you're just going to want to shove there. Okay, moving on. Let's see how the rest of the hand is played. So you hit another one of these flops with the open-ender draw. This time you check. I'm hoping it's because you're going to check raise, okay? Because that'd be a good play. This guy raised 4 times the blind, so he's likely to make a continuation bet. You know, this is a scary board to continuation bet on, so if he has some aptitude there, he may not want a continuation bet. However, personally here, I would either check raise or pot bet. So I don't mind the check if you're intending on raising. If you're intending on check calling, then it's horrible. So we will continue and see what happens. He bets as we thought, and you did check call. Again, I don't like your play here. You bet, you check, he bets 210, you call. Yes, I mean, you're not scared of many things. You got the open-ender. So, you know, the call, it's just not a strong way to play the hand. You should be more aggressive. I mean, you have an open-ender with an overpair to the board. You should be looking to put more pressure on this. You should be check raising there. You check, he bets 120. You pop in, you know, 600 or something. Let him put the rest of his chips in. It seems like you're scared to play big pots. It seems like you purposely try to keep the pots small and scare yourself off of them if something bad happens and end up winning way smaller pots than you could when you end up winning the pot. I think that's the problem with your play, just from the small sample that I've seen so far. You're definitely not playing aggressive enough with these types of hands, and it's going to be costing you in the long run. So here, you checked and you called. I mean, it's not, as I might have said, it would be horrible to do that before this happened. Now, I'm thinking about that through. It's not really horrible because you do have the open-ender, you do have the pair. You're not scared of that much other than jacks and up overcards. But I still think the best play here, although calling here is not horrible, re-raising is definitely the optimal play in this situation. You could even make a case for shoving in his other 1,000. Just check raising 1,000. Sure, he may fold right there. You take the pot uncontested. That's always not a bad thing. Or he may call his next 1,000 and you may take down a much bigger pot, or you may end up losing the pot. But you can't be scared of that happening. You should be getting more chips in on these flops. You should not be check calling on these flops. It's not a way to accumulate chips. So let's see how the rest of the hands played. A 6 hits the turn. I you're getting lucky on the rivers on these. Okay, so okay, that's the flop. So on the turn, you check. After what happened on the flop, I still think here, yeah, on the flop I would have just check raised, shoved him. But on the turn, after doing the check call you did, I mean here with the 6, 7, 8, 9 and the 2 9s, I would bet a large amount. Here's 1,000 chips. There's 700 in the pot. I would go ahead and bet something like 550, a little more than half his stack, to where if he wants to play the hand, he's going to be compelled probably to put the rest in. And that gets you a larger pot if you're up against, say, an ace-8 or something of the sort. And, you know, if he does have a 6 or even a bigger pair than you, then you have 8 outs to the river. And you definitely have a lot of equity in the hand. You should be pot betting this pot. Or 500. Anywhere between 5 and 7 is fine here. Anything that tells him, okay, you're basically all in if you want to play the rest of the hand. Checking here is not the right play. We will move on. We do know that you check and that you hit your river. You got lucky there. And then you end up betting 210 into the 700 pot. Again, I really don't like that. It's too small. It seems like you're going by the concept that a lot of players might do, which is, oh, I don't want to scare him off. I want to make a bet that he can call. Well, you're not maximizing your expectation when you do that. And without getting into too much explanation of what I mean, even if he's less likely to call, say, a 700 bet here, say he's only going to call a 700 bet, 30% of the time, but he's going to call your 210 bet, say, 60% of the time, you'll still be better off making the 700 bet. In the long run, you're going to get more value of that. Say, let's make it real easy. Say 33% of the time he's going to call 700. So, and you play the hand 3 times like this, and he calls that 700 bet 30% of the time. So you make 700 chips over those 3 times playing the hand by him calling one of the 3 times. Now you could bet 210, and he may call that. He may call the 210. You could even say 100% of the time. Okay, say he calls the 210, which is not correct. Which just proves my point even further. If he was going to call the 200 bet 100% of the time, then those 3 times, that 210 would only add up to 630. So even if he's going to call the 210 100% of the time, you're making less chips long term than if you bet 700 and he's going to call it 33% of the time. Okay? Because the 1 out of the 3 times he calls it, you're making 700 chips. The 3 times he automatically calls your 210 all add up together to only 600. So you can see that the expectation of the play is not optimal. Okay, so your 200 bet is incorrect. You should be betting more to try to get the most value out of the straight that you just made. Not overly scared of him having a full house here. If he has a full house, I'm going to stack off to him here. Okay, so you're not going to bet 210 into this board and get a long-term value from that. You got to bet more than that. You're playing too cautious.